Welcome to In the Artist Studio, where we get to peek into the creative spaces of Columbus, Ohio artists, chatting with them on this bi-monthly series, offering an intimate look into the journeys of artists across the city. Hosted by Tina and proudly presented by the Franklinton Arts District. Thanks for joining us. Hey, today we have Sara Allison, an artist that's been a staple to the Franklinton District. We sat down at the Franklinton Market where Sara has her work on display through July 5th.
Hi, I'm Sara Allison, an artist that works often in Franklinton. I do acrylic portraits.
So what got you started in your artist journey?
Well, what started me is just my love of art. I really wasn't great at doing anything else. And I found myself just doing art and being supported with it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Why acrylics of all things?
Well, my first love is oil paints, but found out through many years of working, it does not dry very quickly. No. And in order to finish a painting in time, you kind of need it to be dry. So I switched to acrylics, and I finally found out how to use them, which is very helpful in the journey. Yeah.
So describe your art style.
So my art style, my original love is advertising and the feeling of nostalgia with advertising. So sitting around with family, seeing an advertisement from way long ago, that was always my go-to. But I used to do a lot of cannabis propaganda. And I found out that it's probably easier to sell cannabis than it is to sell cannabis art. And I found maybe I should go to portraits because I owe a background in doing realism. So I went to portraits, and then apparently that took off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, your portraits are beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell me how you developed this style where with your portraits, you've got the color in the background, and it's almost like a watercolor like of the background, and then this black and white portrait?
Yeah, so background I learned when I worked at Dick Blick. I had to do some demos for customers coming in. And during the trend of the acrylic pouring, that's when I did it. And I was like, wow, I have no control over this. I can just pour it, and there's a beautiful little thing in the background. Then I was like, well, I can't just leave it at there because I didn't have anything to do with it besides pouring paint on the thing. So I put a portrait on it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of people who just stop at the pouring.
Yeah.
And definitely call that art.
Yeah.
Which, try not to judge. Everybody loves everything different.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. So for the portrait, are you also using the acrylic paint?
Mm-hmm.
Or so it's not a pencil?
Oh no. So I once the pour is dry, I come up with celebrities or what strikes me, and I match it up with what background I like, so it makes it more animated. And then I do layers of gesso of the silhouette on the background and sand it down because there's a lot of bumps and grooves within an acrylic portrait. So and then I paint the portrait on top of the silhouette with acrylic.
Okay.
And the cost of only buying black and white paint is very wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, but you're using a lot of paint on the pouring.
I am. Yes. So I like to save it with just that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So do you have a background in marketing, or are you just?
Well, I went to CCAD. I tried to start out as a graphic designer advertising, and I realized I just didn't quite fit in. I'd be wearing pajama pants to class all the time, and all these people between ceramics and advertising, they'd somehow change magically in 10 minutes to put a business suit on and have their homework and have it all presented. And I was like, okay, we all just came from the same class. How did you guys do that? And I just did not fit in ever. So I went to fine arts and went on from there. Yeah. But advertising, I love it. My parents are antique toy collectors, so the ads and the nostalgia of the colors and the print is always there.
That's cool.
Yes.
I certainly see more value in older marketing ads. The stories are there.
Yeah, just the work.
The new stuff, it's
just one or two
more
people.
psychosomatic.
Yeah, I agree. I really love the old ones because it's like there's so many people in the journey of making it actually printed. Like there's a copywriter, there's an editor, there's people that paint it, there's people that edit the painting and color. It's just amazing how much thought goes into old campaigns as opposed to, hey, is this trending? Is this cool? Can we sell it on TikTok? Yeah. I don't know about that.
How does that necessarily spill into what you're doing with your art now?
So what that does, I think it's just the nostalgia factor. It's like oftentimes the things I paint are not very contemporary. They're more 80s baby stuff. And I remember just being around TV, seeing these movies and being surrounded with everything I had around. And I was like, okay, you have to be sitting here to watch this. And what does that do? It's like the colors from where I was when I sat to watch whatever show or movie just kind of bleeds in.
Nice.
It seems to have worked well for other people too. So yeah.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah.
Where do you see your art moving? Like, is there a particular direction you hope to see it move into?
Well, I have been doing, I've only actually been doing the portraits for like 2 years now. And I do feel like it is getting a little mundane. So I am looking for something to spice it up. I have a friend I've been hanging out with a little bit, Mike Martin. He does a lot of gig posters for like 311, Incubus, things like that. And we've just been talking back and forth. And I feel like that lead into graphic design and artistic is helping me grow further. And I feel like I might dive into that, whatever it may become. Yeah, it's a little bit of one of the two.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
You put it out into the universe and you
Yeah.
just hope that it comes back.
Yeah, exactly. It's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after CCAD, what were you working on to kind of get you to where you are now?
Well, after I went to CCAD for 3 years, and then I transferred to UC DAP in Cincinnati, and then finished up my bachelor's of fine arts there. And the vast difference between a Bauhaus traditional school and the modern school was insane.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the CCAD was all the way. I went to school there. It was very strenuous. Apparently, we had the biggest workload of any class ever there.
Wow.
I think it was like 40% dropout rate. Like,
Wow.
I talked to some lawyers. They were saying like, "Oh my God, you have way more homework than we do." And I'm like, "Well, that's just not fair. We're artists. Shouldn't we be experiencing everything?" But anyway, so I was there, and then I went to UC, and I had a studio, and there's just nobody ever in studios. And it was like, aren't you guys forced to work? Like we were, like, aren't you tied to your desk? They're like, when you feel the need, work. If you don't feel the need, don't work. If you have the work at the end, that's all you need. And I was like, can this be how it should be? Like, is this okay?
I feel like,
yeah.
but that is. I mean, with
You shouldn't
most
feel pressure.
artists, like,
Yeah.
we have to be inspired to really produce.
Yeah.
And that's usually where, like, things like, writer's block and artist block, that's where that comes from, is that pressure of, okay, I gotta get this done, within this time, and you're buried, and that kills creativity.
Yeah. It was wild, like trying to come up with a senior thesis after CCAD. So I was like, just popped into this modern world. And I go, just do what you want. And I'm like, what do I want? Oh my God. So, well, the studio's great. I'll just paint myself not knowing what to do in a studio. Yeah, no, why not? So I just did that for my senior thesis. It was unfinished frustration. So I never really had to finish everything. And I just recorded the process and all that. And that was very eye-opening. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Very eye-opening. It's like I could just do a brush stroke on something, like I didn't finish it. I started gessoing, I didn't finish. And I was like, my teacher would be like, yep, stop. I didn't even gesso at all. He's like, stop right there. You need something at the beginning. I'm like, wow, okay, you're right. How about that?
So what is some of your biggest challenges, like, to keep creating?
Oof. Well, I have a whole studio at my house. It's a room. If I don't go into it, I feel like that's unpaid rent. So I have to be in there to, cover my rent. And then it's just more of like necessity because I don't want to work full time again. That just is soul sucking. I feel like as an artist, you need to have time to play. You need time to be bored. You need time to just be. And to have a full time job, it's very soul sucking in a sense. So I need a part time, but I also need to be out of the studio every once in a while. Since full time artist, you don't see anybody, and then that's weird.
Yeah. So how often do you have those moments when you're just like brain fried and you're not really like sure as to what to do?
Oh, every day, I'd say. Every day.
So what do you do to like push yourself through that?
I just start to prep things. I start prepping a different canvas. I start pour because it takes days to dry. And get colors organized, paint or mix some paint. But I just make it a point to sit in the studio at least 10 minutes every day. It's really more of an hour every day. And something eventually comes out. It might not be like painting, but it might be prep for something else, which is always a bitch to do.
Yeah.
Prep work sucks. Or cleaning brushes, that sucks. Yeah. That's my biggest bane in the world. I hate it. Yeah.
I feel like my daughter would absolutely agree with you. She just doesn't. She buys really cheap ones that she can just throw away.
Oh, I do buy those, but I never throw them away. No, I will clean that thing silly till the bristles are coming out. Yeah.
That's a really great idea to like work on prep stuff and stuff that you don't.
Yeah.
But it still keeps you doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or like picking up the studio a little bit. I just had a scare with a spider in my studio. It was massive. And I just ran out of my studio. I wasn't there for probably 4 days because I would just be in there throwing like peppermint cotton balls, just trying to scare it away and like bits of Raid to try to kill it. And I was like, okay, you need to pick up the things the spider might be in. I was like, okay, that counts for today. No, run away. No, run away. It did take me a week and a half to get back.
I can see that. The whole mental image is great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I have a baby gate for my dog so she doesn't go in, but also I was like, okay, throw it over the baby gate. That's okay.
So on the opposite end of that spectrum, like, do you have those moments when like the creative juices are going and you can't, like, you're at that point where you're like, you almost can't stop?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
I just lean into it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a night person. I love to have those moments at night. No one else is awake. There's no disturbances. My husband's asleep. The dog's asleep. No one's up. So I'm just like, I work from like usually 9 p.m. to like 3 a.m. Yeah, and those are like my golden hours.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing? Like, have you been creating and selling your artwork?
Successfully, probably a different question. But I've been creating it.
Do this in a two-parter then.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing it? How long have you been doing it successfully?
So I've been creating artwork gearing towards a style for probably about, maybe 20 years now.
Wow.
20? How old am I? Yeah. That's scary, but 20 years.
So how much of that time was then just figuring it out to then being successful?
Well, there's a long time where I didn't think I could paint, even though I was like, I'm diehard about this. Why do I feel like I just don't get it? And I was just left at the CC80 studios one night, and it just all of a sudden clicked, and it was amazing. And then after that, I was like, I can do portraits. Do I want to? I'll figure that out later. So I tried some other things. Then eventually went back to portraits off and on, probably about 8 years ago. Or a little longer than that. So I've always done self-portraits when I'm really stuck. So I do self-portraits in my studio, just stuck. And I feel like that started maybe, 13 years ago? Yeah. It's so much longer than it seems. No, longer than that. 15.
Time goes
Time goes
fast.
by, and once you're an adult, holy moly, does it pick
Yeah.
up sometimes? Yeah.
So successfully, what was that like? What do you call successful?
I think what I call success, two different parts of the answer. Success within yourself and being happy and content, and then success financially. That's a different one. I am definitely working towards the second one. I feel like I'm more centered with the first. I'm very content with what I'm doing. I'm very pleased and delighted every time I'm like, oh, that looks like that person. That's cool. Holy moly. Will people like this? I don't know. I did a Bert and Ernie, and I was like, are adults? Why would an adult buy Bert and Ernie? It's because they're the first gay couple.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah, I was like, okay, people are gonna get it. Okay. People get it. People get it. Okay. I was like, okay, maybe I'm odd enough where it kind of works. Yeah. But yeah,
There's always those people out there.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's always fun. So I feel like I've been more financially successful after COVID for sure. Because I was very lost in that. Because I was like, oh, I have all this time at home. Shouldn't I just be creating all the time? But everybody was stuck. We all felt stuck.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, what am I doing? Just sitting in the studio, picking up cotton balls. They're always there.
Chasing the spider.
Yeah, right. Panicking. Creating a reason just not to do something.
I think we all do that.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a nice excuse you can allow yourself. Yeah.
So one of the big things that I feel like a lot of people struggle with and kind of make a big deal. So at what point did you start to feel comfortable with calling yourself an artist?
Oof. That was also part of my thesis as a senior. Unfinished art. I was like, am I an unfinished artist? I think when I could actually get up and it's not for all, this is just me. I think maybe when I could be like, wow, I can get up and either do this today and sell a painting or pay a bill or not. It's like I'm always an artist at heart, but like to be professionally an artist every day, I feel like being able to pay at least a bill a day with it would be great. I feel like that's when I did. That was probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of time to put into a craft that
Yeah. It is.
what kept you going instead of saying, this is insanity?
Oh, I always thought it's insanity. It still is. It's like, why am I painting a cocaine bear, which I'm working on right now? I'm just painting a cocaine bear. What are you doing with your life, girl? It's like, no, this is okay.
That's great. We've
It's
now
also-
had 2 in the U.S.
Right? It's just like, what are you doing with your life? This is insane. It's like, okay, lean into it. Because there's how many other people can say that? It's like, okay.
No, I think that's a very good power to have.
Somebody asked for this. This is a commission. All right, I am doing this for a reason. Okay. Not
That
just doing
is-
it for shits
that
and
is
giggles.
excellent.
Yeah.
Do you work a lot on commission?
I do like to have at least 1 or 2 going at a time. Yeah, and I always start my prices very low right now, so I can get them out fairly quickly. So I don't want to outprice anybody for money art if they actually love it. Because like with these movies, back in the day, movies did not cost a lot to go to. And like just the memory of like seeing your favorite movie and what was happening.
Yeah.
Man, does everybody have that story? Yeah.
So how do you generally capture a commission? I mean, how are people contacting you for something like that?
So I usually just meet people through bars where I hang out my artwork, and people that see my shows that are at bars, and then they tell me like, "Oh, I have this movie in mind," and I will say like my favorite scene, but they'll be thinking about something totally different, and I'm like, "Oh, well, that's funny. And so I'll just take like screenshots from things and be like, is this what you're talking about? And oftentimes they send me a picture, like, I want exactly this. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Yeah.
That's excellent.
I like to work with people and see like what makes it their pick for a portrait. Yeah.
Okay. So moving from that, like, what kind of bars can people find, or places can people find your work being hung up?
Well, I do have usually 2 shows a year at Rehab Tavern in Franklin's Inn. I think it's still 456 West Town Street, if I remember right. And then I have my work permanently at 8 and Sands Tavern on the south side near Marion Village. It's on Innocent 4th. They're a great bar, fantastic food, and they've just been more welcoming than anything. It's really just pleasure. I've been really blessed with that.
That's
Yeah,
excellent.
and they all encourage me, and it's like, you guys are too nice. What is going on? Who's coming after me? Nobody. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of that out of the box. I never thought about, like,
It's just neat. It's like, wow.
I mean, everybody loves going to the bars.
Yeah. And I was like, when I did cannabis artwork, usually galleries were saying no to me everywhere. Now it was a really low point. It was before it was legal. So I was like fighting to kill the stigma. But even places that welcome smokers are like, oh, I don't know if I can advertise for it on the wall. And I was like, oh. They're like, oh, we love it, everything, but we're just too scared. I'm like, okay. But then if I mix it in, I notice if I mix it in with portraits too, it goes a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And bars are just more welcoming of having fun.
Bars are much more open-minded.
Yes. Yes.
They understand.
Tons of people going there.
That's a whole market of, people escape.
Yeah, it's exactly escapism along with movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a good flow.
And in this particular world where we're constantly hammered,
Oh yeah.
to be productive, to do this, and do that, and be this, and be that. It's nice to
Absolutely.
relax.
Yeah. And I've always worked at bars like part-time, so it's always like, oh, well, these are people I know. I guess this is nice. I'm comfortable here. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So for anyone who might be watching this that is struggling with that identity or wanting to live a life of being an artist, what's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Get another job. No, I'm just joking. But, you're in for a world of hurt, let me tell you. But lean into the hurt. Keep going. If you love it and that's what you got to do, that's what you have to do. So know that there's going to be shit days often, but there's going to be the good days, and those are better. And those are just the best things you can come across.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd just like to say to anyone?
I would just love to thank AJ Vanderelli for being a huge inspiration. She welcomes me in this community more than anybody.